Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Interesting Modelling Company, the Sunday night one, as we call it now. Hey, Mr. P, how are you?
I'm all right. Yes, I'm not too bad actually today, which seems to have made a change over the last couple of weeks.
You look sun-kissed.
Yes, I'd like to say that I am. I think it's more blood pressure and angst that's causing me to be slightly more florid than I would normally be, I have to say. So yeah, although I was out today watching my son is a football coach, and has been coaching a couple of teams, and his team played earlier on, and so I went and watched the game in the sunshine today. So it could be that actually. Come to think of it, because it has been rather nice over the last few days.
It has been rather nice. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, it has been so nice. It has been so unseasonably nice in this soggy little island of ours that I am rather shamefacedly have to admit that I haven't done anything on the little Italeri Panzer 35. The evenings have just been so glorious outside, and it's been nice to sit outside and not be wrapped up in my usual mock and the Antarctic gear, looking like an extra from the Terror, that I've just been taking advantage of being able to sit outside, and especially as I've got now a little like clip-on reading light, I can sit outside in the dark reading. So,
yes.
So sorry, folks, no modelling at all. So,
I would like to say that I haven't been doing any modelling, but I've been doing an awful lot of it for the last 5 days, and I will be able to reveal the final results within hopefully on Tuesday. I think it'll be done. I'm giving myself tomorrow to wrap up everything I need to. Then I will give myself another day to check everything, proofread it, for want of a much better. I'll proof the model and sort of check it out and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's been a really busy day, really busy week. But finally, I'm seeing some headway now, and I can sort of start to see the results of this thing. So I've sort of built this thing up. People are just going to go, yeah, it's just another model, Spence. You know, why do you get so faffed about the whole thing? But it is one of those, really, that sometimes models go south and you have to do it. And I said to John off air as well, and I think this bears repeating for those of us who find ourselves embroiled in this in a professional manner. Building models for us, or projects for us, are it's a slightly different thing, and I think you judge your ability as a professional, not when things are going well, because that's easy. You know, you build a kit, you paint it, photograph it, put it out there. It's easy. It's when you're against a deadline and something goes south, and then you're still against the deadline and you have no choice but to finish it, or to do something with it to retrieve it, especially if it's a really catastrophic shift in the project mid-flow. And that's certainly what's happened this week, or rather last week. So I had to draw on kind of all of my reserves, really. Not only of my reserves of energy, because what it effectively meant was that I painted 2 complex models within the space of time that I would normally paint only one of them. But yeah, it's a difficult thing. So now it's kind of getting there, and I'm actually looking at it as we speak. So now, sort of looking at it, I can sort of see where we are with this thing. But it is about that. Sometimes it's about fixing things when you're not really in the mood. And nobody wants to do things twice, which is why I often don't build models twice. I don't build kits twice. If I can help it, I'll find the second one.
I think it's fair to say that had this been a personal project for yourself, it would have been heading for the bin.
It wouldn't have survived last week. No. It absolutely wouldn't have survived last week, because there was too much to retrieve and too much work to do to retrieve it and then rebuild it and then rework it for because of the issues with with the paint, and that proved to be a bit of a snag. But as it's turned out, I learned from that process, and I was able to kind of work on other things and do other things. But yeah, sometimes I have no sentimentality when it comes to building models. I don't. I'm not sentimental about them at all. And my mum actually asked me yesterday in the car. I took her for a second jabs yesterday, and she said to me, "Have you ever put your foot on a model? One of your models? Have you ever put your foot on a model?" And I said, "Yes, many times. It's not something that I think about. I'm really not sentimental about it. If I've spent 100 hours on a project and it goes south and it's something of mine, I will not think twice about putting it in a bin. I won't. I don't have. There's no shelves around here with half-built models that I'm waiting to repair or restore or do anything like that. You know, and it's also, and I've said that I've been quite open about this. If I damage a model, say it goes up in the loft and I damage it, it gets broken, and there are a couple up there at the moment that I noticed this afternoon that I really loved when I built them. They're damaged now, almost beyond repair. They will go in the bin. I will not repair them because there's no point. I'm wasting my time. I'm 53. I'm not going to spend, 30 hours repairing a model when I can spend 30 hours building something else. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't sort of understand that.
No,
yes.
I totally understand that. And again, this kind of, let's talk about first world problems here. But it is slightly the difference between when you're doing this as a hobbyist, and then when you're doing this because it is a professional contractual arrangement, is that I'm in the same boat. If I'm building something for a display and I'm really not getting on with it, I got to carry on with it.
Yeah,
I've got to finish it. I've got to deliver. I have to deliver in every sense of the phrase.
Yeah,
and it's just one of those things that you just have to grit your teeth, get in there, finish it. And 99.9% of the time, I would say actually 100% of the time, that the things that bothered me about where a project is, I've not lost control of it, but I've just felt that I lost it at some stage, and I don't really like it, and I deliver it 100% of the time. The things that bother me, nobody else can see.
Nobody else will notice it. That's exactly the thing. And I mean, I guess most people who watch this, have been watching this for the last 3 weeks, will have some idea of what this model is. They'll have guessed what this model is.
I don't.
And
I have absolutely no idea whatsoever.
Without giving sort of too much, this is probably the most important thing I'll build this year. I can't see another thing that I'm going to build this year which will have the same importance as this. So the idea that when it hit and the finish didn't work the way that it needed to, it was a major stress. I'm
curious now to actually try out those paints, because I've got those paints that you used. Is just to try and repeat the exercise. Not the whole hog, but just to kind of like to actually try, do something, even if it's on a scrap model, is just use those paints, see what happens, see if I can gloss them. And
it was bizarre how and once you start, I don't know how you feel about this, but once you start chasing a finish, any finish, once you start chasing it, you may as well give it up. You may as well, because finishes have you have certain steps that you work through. And if you get to a point in a finish where you're starting to look at it and go, this is just not working. Something's happening. It's roughening up. It's not smooth anymore. What is it? Once you hit that point of chasing that finish, you may as well just cut it loose.
You're losing it in the mix, quite literally.
In the same way it's like anything else. A finish is like anything else that you do. If you're cooking something and you can see that it's going horribly wrong in the pan, that it's starting to set in the pan or whatever, you go, you know what, I'm getting rid of this. I'll sort of get rid of it and throw it out and start again. That's the same with any kind of finish. And I found over the years that if I do start chasing it, the more I work it, the more I work it. It used to be like the case with natural metal finishes. I used to be so obsessed with a natural metal finish. You know, you get little scratches on it, and I'd be like, well, I need to polish that out, and then you polish it out, and then that'd add more scratches to it. It's kind of an endless thing, isn't it? Gloss finishes are another one, and you get to that point and you think, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna try and sort of work my way sort of through it, and that's something I've learned over the years, that there are better battles to fight often, and the amount of time that you spend repairing a finish that you're never going to be satisfied with, because once you hit a point in a model where you look at it going, I don't really like this anymore, you're never going to recover that. You're never going to recover it. You're never going to look at it at any point and go, well, I really like this now, because you're instinctively thinking, I've compromised on this somewhere along the line. You may as well spend that amount of time that you've used to repair and rework doing it from scratch. You may as well. And I get the counter argument. I get the counter argument about, well, it's an expensive, it's expensive to do that. It's an expensive kit and all of that sort of stuff. I understand that, especially if it is an expensive kit. But I've had that happen on £10 kits, and I thought, no, I'm not gonna do that. It's just something that I know, I appreciate not everybody does that, and not everybody has the facility to do that. But I'm beyond. I am beyond it. I'm beyond chasing finishes I can't repair. It's just not worth my while anymore. So, speaking of £10 kits, I have bought a model.
Uh-oh.
You're going to love it. You are going to love it, and you're going to go, I want to do that as well. I guarantee. You ready?
Go on. Well, I've already done that.
I know, but I bet you want to do another one, don't you?
Do you know what? At the moment, no.
Liar. Liar, liar, liar.
Hey. Don't make me make the. I'm going to say this now. I did notice that your good lady wife has got a piano.
She has got a piano. Yes, indeed.
Which is, I think that's splendid. There is at least now one musician in your household.
Hey!
Yeah, literally.
And this leads me on to something that we should talk about before we sort of talk about other things. I was in my local Hobbycraft, picking up some paints. I needed some Tamiya smoke and some cockpit green and stuff like that. Cockpit green for that Picara, because it's got a very pale green camouflage. Smoke, because I couldn't get any from anywhere else. And I got chatting to the guys in the shop about the issues with Humbrol and Airfix, that they will no longer have Humbrol or Airfix in the shop, and sort of asked about this. We'd sort of heard this rumor a while back that this would be the case. I don't know if you've got a Hobbycraft near you, but our Hobbycraft hasn't downscaled its model department at all. The model department is the same sort of size, but I did notice and that they've taken all of the racking out for the Humbrol paints, and they've got them like in a little plastic box now, and there's only the remnants of the sort of Airfix kits in there. I have no sort of concrete proof as to whether this is across their group, but I do think it's a shame if that's happened. That range is not going to be available in what is effectively the only nationwide chain of model departments. It's a real shame, and I can sort of, I sort of posted it on here and said and mentioned about it, and other people were going, well, yeah, but Hobbycraft is downscaling everything because now they're selling knitting needles instead of selling model kits. Well, that's not the impression that I got from our local Hobbycraft. It wasn't about all of that, but I think it's a shame, and if we can get more information on that as to why that is actually happening, that would be marvelous, because
obviously for professional reasons I can't comment one way or the other, but I don't know.
No, and that's why I'm not asking,
and I wouldn't comment anyway. So
yeah, and that's why I'm not asking you for your opinion on this, because I know it puts you in a difficult position, but I think that if that has been the case, and if that is a decision that has been made at board level with Hobbycraft, at buyers level with Hobbycraft, and there has been if there has been some kind of breakdown of relationships between the two companies. I think that's a shame. And I'm just
I haven't been to a Hobbycraft in the best part of probably about 3 or 4 years. It's just my local one is up at Cribbs Causeway.
Yeah.
And I just don't like going up to Cribbs Causeway. I just don't like going up there. So, and
I mean, the problem we've got here is we've got a fantastic gaming shop called Questing Night Games, which is in Telford, and it's fantastic. They sell endless paint ranges for all the gaming and all of that sort of stuff, Games Workshop and all of the paints for that. There is literally not a model shop within reasonable driving distance of where I live, not one anywhere other than Hobbycraft. So if at any point I've run out of something and I need something desperately, like Tamiya paint, for instance, if I need some Tamiya paints, it's the only place I can go to get it.
See, I'm rather lucky in as much as got Antics in Bristol. There is a hobby shop in Weston-super-Mare. I haven't been to it yet, but hopefully, within the next few months, hopefully if things start to become a little bit more sensible out there, I might have a trip. There's a very good mail order company's just set up has been in Weston for about the last year or so, Premium Hobbies. They do a lot of the really esoteric Japanese Japanese stuff, tools and things. And they do click and collect, so I might actually do a little order with them to see what just to see what they're what they've got. But apart from that, it's either I go to Antics or I go to Froome, and that's it.
Yeah, it really is poor for us. I can't think of a single model shop in the whole of Shrewsbury. I think there is one over there, right in the town centre of the mighty Shrewsbury.
Apart from that, you've got Cosford, and that's about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and Cosford have got virtually nothing. No, they've got a couple of kits. I mean, that's another one. Cosford are an Airfix stockist, so and we haven't kind of been able to kind of get in there. Liz is screaming. I can hear her. She's watching the football. She's watching the Southampton game, and she's cheering for Southampton. And I can hear her in the distance. If you wonder why I'm getting distracted,
if you suddenly start seeing paint rattling off the shelves here, it's not that we're having an earthquake. It's just that I've got the washing machine on, and it does like to try and make a break for it every now and then.
That's the other thing. I mean, Dave said, about KingKit. KingKit is in Telford, and you can order off the KingKit website and go and pick it up. That's the nearest thing I would get. Also, last week I ordered paint, or the week before rather, I ordered paint from eModels. eModels are a major retailer in the UK, major online retailer, and their headquarters is in Stoke. Where they're from is in Stoke-on-Trent. So I can drive into Stoke and do click and collect there. The only problem with that is I've got to drive into Stoke-on-Trent. Which is, it is just the most involved place to drive around. I'd really forgotten how involved it was.
Could be worse. It could be worse. It could be Walsall. Right? And I say this with the provenance of being born in the West Midlands, because I'm from Dudley, as you can tell by my rich, mellifluous Dudley tones. I was coming out from Cosford once, and I took a wrong turn and ended up in Walsall. And honestly, it was like something from the Truman Show. It's every time I was following the signs that said "get back onto the M48." Every time I followed the signs, I'd be back in Walsall again. And I thought, honestly, every time I kind of went back, I'm sure the people there, it was the same people that were just getting older and older. And in the end, I ignored the signs. I thought, no, forget it. I'm just going I'm going in the opposite direction. Went in the opposite direction, got back onto the M48. It was the weirdest place I've ever been to. It's like you're here now. It's like The Prisoner, I was going to be chased by a giant white balloon,
Ian Rusco has put Stoke's building site at the moment, major projects being done all over the city. That was part of the problem as well, sort of coming into the city. And then I said to the guys at emails, I said, can I go the other way rather than coming through all of this? And they went, nah, there's loads of roadworks on this side, so you probably want to go back onto all of that and go past the Britannia Stadium and all that. It was really kind of cool. But that's the problem that you've got, and that's why Hobbycraft, as expensive as it is important to me, because I've got no. I have now, with that with that part aspect of their business closing down, I can't get enamel paints anywhere here. The only way I can get enamel paints is to order them online, and of course that has issues as well because of sending enamels through the post. So again, it's just, you know, these sort of bricks and mortar model shops are, you know, that were once a tenner penny are now so difficult to find. It's, you know, and Tony Burke, who's from, you know, used to work in London. There's none in London. There's or central London, right? There isn't a model shop in central London. It's just bonkers. So
shall we say, yeah, let's say hello to everybody who's tuned in tonight. Bless you all. It's such a lovely night. You could be all outside enjoying yourselves, but you've come indoors to you know, to watch us too. That's very kind of you. Let's just say hello to Douglas Hunter, Pavel Krupovich, John Patrick Huston, Ian Rusko, Ian Goldshot, Paul Milligan, Dave Fleming, Mark Ryan M, Paul Lloyd, Dave Swindle, Mike Williams, Colin Strachan, Andy Brennan, Andy King, Dave Carr, Greg Woodbridge, Offer Cohen, Brian Wilton, Vincent Murphy, Jerry Doyle, Mike Reeves, hello Mike in America, Dougal McWoogle, Stephen Pryor, Steve Moores, Rob Herring, Gavin Booth, Stuart Bremner, probably said Stuart's twice there, Johan Olivier, after the actor, not the musical, and Philip Jones, Ian Rusko, and I think Patrick Power. So I think we're pretty much down to everybody who's watching tonight. It's very kind of you. It's like I say, I have done absolutely nothing in the workshop the last week, so apologies to my models here, which are, you know, wanting to be built, but I just want to sit outside for a while. There's going to be rain, yes, and I'll sit indoors when it's raining. So let us crack on.
And now what will happen is we have sunshine, sunshine between now and October.
No, I'll take that.
Ouch,
no, I want to get this little Panzer done. I've got a couple of other things which we're going to talk about tonight. So let's kick off. And first of all, would you like to give everybody an update on your Starfighter book?
I would. Yes, my Starfighter book was released yesterday, and very pleasingly, it's almost sold out. So I'm kind of really happy about that. This is my new book. I announced it yesterday, put it on sale, on general sale yesterday. There are 2 versions of the package that go with this Starfighter book, which I again announced yesterday. The pre-orders, the people who pre-ordered book will get, as part of their package, will get limited edition print, limited edition postcard as a thank you for pre-ordering it. The pre-orders are really important for these projects. These projects aren't run like a normal publisher would run a book. I print to order, and the pre-orders pay for the printing, essentially. And without the pre-orders, I can't get them printed. So it's a bit of a, you know, it's a bit of a sort of catch-22. But fortunately, the pre-orders that came in last week paid for my printing costs. So as a thank you, there will be a slightly different package. You will get an A4 sort of art print that goes with this of one of the models in there, and also you'll get a collectible postcard. And anybody that's had any of the other books will have seen those packages as well. So again, that's something else you can kind of collect. And then the others that came in after the cutoff date, which was sort of 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, we'll get the standard issue, which is just kind of the book rather than the full package. But yeah, so far it's really good, and I've sort of almost hit what I wanted to print, and getting ready. There are some left. If anybody's watching this and they would like a copy of this book, there are some left. They can go to my blog, which is the kit box, and on there is an update that's for this model. So all being well, the book will be off to the printers at the end of next week. It'll all be sorted out. It's usually about a week turnaround, so I'm hoping that all the readers will have a copy of this book by the middle of May, and that's another project wrapped up for me. So anybody that's bought a book, please, you know, be sure that I'm extremely grateful for your support on this. These books are done on such a limited kind of budget and on such a limited sort of timescale. Really, anybody that supports it, I really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you very much for that. It just gives me a chance to do something that's all mine, that I can control, and that's sort of important at the moment. So yeah, thank you very much appreciated.
Excellent. Well, funny, as I said in the as I said in the intro, that actually the one thing I really do want to build at the moment is a starfighter.
Yeah,
I'm not desperate to go out and buy one, but it's just having seen the stuff that you did in that book, and then I start thinking to myself, yeah, I've got the Mr. Colour paint set here for Japanese kind of natural metal aircraft, and I just love those Japanese starfighters. And then I think,
gorgeous.
Yeah, then I think to myself, I do like those Marine Flieger ones, and but I've got, unfortunately, that would be a me model. There are two sets of projects in this workshop. There are me models and there are other people's models. And unfortunately, I've got too many other people's models.
yes, we're surrounded by other people's models. Can I just answer a question? Steve Moores has put on these limited prints, how many are on the run? I'd rather not say, because obviously that's information that only I hold. But he's put, if they continue to sell like the Tornado book, would you do bigger print runs? No, is the simple and straightforward answer to that. I'm very focused on the idea that these books are limited editions. They're done for people who want them. I've never wanted these books to be just another book that you can buy, because I feel strongly that it devalues the books and the work that I put in. And I know that sounds really kind of arrogant. I don't mean it to be like that, but I like them. I like people who buy them to feel like they've got something that very few other people have got. And it's a bit like an art print. When you buy an art print that's only created in like 400, usually like 499 or something. I like the idea that only 500 people around the world have got them. It feels special to me. If I was to do these as a normal book and sell them through a normal publisher, I would feel that they weren't special to me. And so, although I do occasionally, like the Tornado book, I extend the print runs, and I'm happy to do that. Those extensions are in very small amounts. Then they're only done if 10 people contact me, then I will consider it on that basis. But these are done on very small, very limited basis, so that people who buy them feel like they've got something that's collectible and something that they can treasure, because very few other people have got them. There are some left, Steve. If you want one, get in touch. You can grab one. But really, and I think that's happened with the Tornado book now. I've done another print run on the Tornado book. I'm very unlikely to reprint it at the moment, because I think I've captured everybody that was going to buy it, and I've moved on. And all of the other books, no, absolutely not. All of the other books that were published years ago, they're all deleted as well, and they won't reappear. I'm done with them. So
yeah. What you've done effectively there is that's what Foo Fighters did with their album Wasted Light. They recorded it. They actually recorded it on tape. They tried doing it digital. Dave Grohl hated it, so they went back to using tape on one of those big kind of analog mixing desks and everything. And then when the album was mastered and it was all done, they got the master tapes and they chopped them up. Yeah. And they put a little bit of the master tape in with every album. Oh, so I own that much of an actual Foo Fighters master tape, which is awesome. Brilliant. Also, there was a can we talk about this? Yeah, they're nodding. We're fine. There was a company back in the 1980s, and I can say it's back in the 90s. They're no longer around, and I think even the guy who ran it is sadly no longer with us. But essentially, he used to advertise things as being limited runs, limited editions. Yeah, everything was limited runs, and it was literally limited to what? Limited to how many I can sell.
Well, so, I mean,
so if it was, if he only sold 250 or something, that was it. If he sold 10,000 of it, that was it. And it was like,
Yeah, it's a difficult thing, I think, when you're creating something like that. When Drum Workshop decided they were going to do the anniversary drum kit, Neil Peart's anniversary drum kit, they did 23 of them. They made 23 of them, and that's all. So around the world there are 23 iterations of his drum kit in other people's collections. And I like the idea that's it. I think if you're going to announce something as a limited edition, it has to be a limited edition. It was like I numbered the first cluster, and in fact, I numbered the special editions of the Tornado book. It was numbered and signed. And if I say I'm going to number it 1 to 100, and then 6 months later I say, well, actually, I've decided I'm going to do another 50, the people who've bought the original 100 are going to go, well, why did I bother? Why did I bother buying that if you're just going to extend it out? It's not special. Then you've got to stick to it, and you've got to be clear about that, and you've got to be honest about it. And otherwise, people lose faith in what they're buying off you. And I don't really want to do that. So
no, exactly.
Yeah, and Steve has put, I'd love the Harry book, mate. It's gone. It's all sold. So sorry about that. That's all I can.
This is a tantalising offer from Patrick Power, who says at least 5 model shops within 45 minutes, 30 miles of Dublin. We should organise package holidays for you guys. I think Simon at Mark's Models used to say a pair of English gents visited almost monthly. Well, there's a tantalising thing for the future. The interesting modelling company tour of Ireland.
Yes, that would be. Yeah. Well, yeah. God.
Well, yeah. Well,
models, and
the interesting modelling company, Dublin, and associated model shops / bars.
And I have to say that I've got a real taste for Hop House 13, which is the lager that's made by Guinness, which I really, really like. So,
in fact, you've just reminded me. I discovered in part of my little side project I do, which is the Sunday Night Ghost Stories thing, and I've been kind of discovering local breweries. In fact, I discovered one just outside Weston last week because I've driven past it loads of time, didn't realise who they were. Last night, I discovered there is a company making beer a quarter of a mile away from me.
You kidding?
Yeah, Portishead Brewery.
Oh, really? Have you tried any of their fizz yet?
No.
Have you not? No.
No. Sorry, somebody just tried calling me. How the temerity of somebody trying to call me.
We have a brewery here as well, and it's a similar kind of thing. And I haven't tried that either. I think because I found out about it before lockdown, and it's sort of not lifted. But I like local breweries. I mean, I can't remember who was saying it. Was it you talking about it the other night, or was I dreaming about this? Yes, it was you about breweries over in Wales.
I am trying to. There are quite a few actually in Wales, but I'm needing to source Welsh beers on account that coming up in the autumn I've got a stack of ghost stories of Wales. So probably people are thinking, why do you do it, JM? And it's like, because I sit there and I am utterly dismissive of these stories all the time. I'm literally Scully. I'm Dana Scully. I sit there. The story is they'll go, that he was driving along and he saw the ghost, or it could have been a will-o'-the-wisp, and I'm like, it could have been marsh gas, and I'm like, it was marsh gas.
But absolutely anything.
Could have been. But the thing is, it's just, anyway, long story short, I need to find some. There are some Welsh breweries, but in doing so, discovered Portishead Brewery Company just down the road. Should we actually talk about some models now?
Well, I have to say then, in that case, you need to go to the Portishead Brewery and you need to report back.
Hey, I got it. It's in hand. What do you think I am, an amateur?
And do that. One final answer to somebody. They said, why don't you do ebooks? And I would do that if it wasn't for thieving scumbags out there who take the books and then share them a lot.
Yes,
that's my answer to that.
That happens. Unfortunately, it happens quite too much. Let's move on now.
It really does.
I had a package turn up this week. We're talking about things local, relatively local. It's a model, a British model manufacturer. Because actually we have quite a few in this country, not just the home team, down at Margate, but there are a couple of British manufacturers. There is Armourfast, who make injection molded armor kits for the wargaming market. But there is also Plastic Soldier Company, who do a lot of wargaming stuff, and they do them in a variety of scales, but they do them in 72nd scale. Now, the thing about these is, I've seen these kits around, and I've kind of always been tempted to kind of try them to see what they're like. They're one of those companies that they're very big in the wargaming community, but as far as modelers are concerned, it's like it's off the radar. And it's off the radar because they perceive it, oh, well, it's for war gamers, it's not for us. And it's like, well, hang about. So they very kindly sent 2 of the kits, which I'll talk about tonight, and I'll rattle through these because Spencer hasn't, he's only seen the pictures, so it's difficult for him to comment. But what we'll do is we'll bring up the first one, which is... They do the, come on, picture in picture when it works. They do the, it's the British 25-pounder CMP quad tractor. And it's a ridiculously small image. I do apologize. Let's see if we can, there we go, that's better. Now, this was one of those kind of vehicles that you were always doing the conversions from the old Airfix kit. You saw the adverts in Airfix magazine and everything to, the articles and whatever. So it's one of those trucks that's not been that well covered as injection molded kits. I think IBG may do some. I need to go away and check on that. But the thing about Plastic Soldier Company is these are for war gamers. So what they tend to do is they include multiples in the sets. And in this case, you get 2 of the CMPs and 2 of the 25-pounders. So you can see that they're simple and they're simplified, but not necessarily crude. And in fact, there is almost like a touch of Matchbox about these that I actually quite like. That's the sprue for the CMP, in which you can see they give you 2 roofs, one open, one closed. That's the sprue for the 25-pounder, and actually they give you a lot of options with this, because you not only can you build it as a bog standard 25-pounder, but they give you choices of with or without the muzzle brake. You can do an 18 25-pounder or a 17 25-pounder pheasant rather. Plus there's choices of gun shields, choices of carriages. So there's a lot going on there. And frankly, what you don't use, your spares box will be very grateful for. Then you get a sprue, 2 sprues with the crews, and they give you 1 crew North Africa and 1 crew European. It's rather this is the thing I really like about these kits, is that they mold the arms separately, but they mold the arms holding the equipment, which we'll come to in a minute, because they've done a rather neat thing, which I think other kit companies could do well to emulate. So that that's the side of the it's the side of the CMP there, and the detail is really crisp. It is actually very nicely done. You don't get clear parts for the windscreens, nor do you get decals. But actually, having just salvaged some clear parts from a very early birthday present, that I can't wait to utilize that on this. You see, the wheels are beautifully detailed, and these are like massive enlargements. That's the thing I like about the figures, is they mold the hands to the steering wheel.
That's really cool.
Isn't that clever? I like that a lot. Very, very clever. Because unlike the figures you get in a lot of other kits, where they're just like they're sat there, but they're not doing anything. That's like, and it's a bit like some aircraft kits that you get now, where they actually mold the guys actually holding the control stick. Which I wish more companies would do. But the figures they're nicely sculpted, they're nicely molded, they're very crisp, and there's the bits for the gun shields. Again, because of the photography and having to boost levels and things, it makes it all look a bit more clunky than it actually is. It's not. It's actually very, very fine and very nicely done. Those are the wheels for the 25-pounder. and that's the kind of the part of the limber. There are all your different barrels. Now, okay, they're not slide molded. You're going to have to drill out the muzzle brakes, but it's modeling. Come on, step up to the plate. And those are some of the crew figures those are the North African ones. And I actually like them.
Those figures look great, don't they?
They're full of character, I think is the best way of putting it. And those are the ones for the European theatre. Helmets are a little bit kind of perhaps a tad overdone, but that does tend to be a feature of these wargaming figures, that they do tend to be a little bit, I don't want to say exaggerated, but a word similar to exaggerated, but not in a kind of, not in a derogatory sense, I think is the best way of putting it. Yes, these are simple, and to some extent they're simplified. And as you can see, on the underside there, for all the leaf springs and the chassis and everything, that is really quite basic. But it's an area of the model you're not going to see anyway. And as ever with the interesting modeling companies, trademark phrase, you can hide it with mud, which is precisely what I'm going to do with this.
I see what you mean about the Matchbox kind of look. The figures in particular have a look of Matchbox figures, but I like the way that looks, and it looks like it'll go together really quickly as well, so you can sort of focus on painting and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you get 2 sets of each? Did you say you get two
sets of everything, two sets of every sprue?
And so how much is that to buy? How much?
That's a very good point. I should have. So there's nothing like being prepared, and trust me, folks, this is nothing like being prepared. Thankfully, I've got the link here. We've got links going up after the show, which will take you to this. Let's just bring up. Oops, Daisy. Oh, for goodness' sake! Get there in the end. Those retail for around the £20 mark.
So you're getting 2 vehicles, 2 guns, 2 sets of figures.
28 figures, yeah.
For 20 quid. That's pretty good value for money, isn't it?
I think it's a good starting point for a replica of these CMP trucks, and which I like. I've always preferred these over the Morris ones, and the reason why this is something I've wanted to do for ages is just because these things are for war gamers, and they're not Dragon kind of 72nd scale armor kits. They're not Trumpeter. They're certainly not Tamiya. Tamiya don't do 72nd, obviously, but they're not Tamiya kits. But just because they're not, do not dismiss them, because actually they have a lot of worth and they have a lot of value. But as ever with modeling, it's about what you can do with a basic kit like that, simple little modeling tricks, just to make people go, well, really?
Well,
is that
what
it is?
To Questing Night Games, that's the kind of thing that they stock. They stock a lot of kind of wargaming, as well as the fantasy side of it. They stock, so it might be worth a little trip over there actually, and go and see. Yeah.
Well, the other. Sorry, carry on.
So you've got a second kit, have you? What's the
I have got a second kit, and I'm just bringing it up here a second. No, wrong one. That's your Starfighter book. Let's just get rid of that. The second one is. Oh, for goodness sake! It's all going Pete Tong tonight. There we go. The second one, it's the SDKFZ 231, which there we go. Let's bang that up a bit more. But it's how many versions you can do in this kit, which is really quite remarkable. You get three kits. Three full kits in this set, so you can build any one of 4 variants. Okay. Wow. So there's the they give you the complete upper holes for all 3. So what you can build from this kit are the SDKFZ 231, which is the one with the turret, the 232, which is the turret with the radio mast, the 263, with the solid fighting compartment and radio masts, or the 233 with the short-barreled 7.5 centimeter gun. And then you can see the undersides. That's the other sprue with the undersides and the aerial masts. Again, very reminiscent of kind of like very Matchboxy in terms of just reminds me of Matchbox so much, which for me isn't a problem because I love Matchbox. Again, you can probably see there the leaf springs, they're simplified, but yeah, we can get around that. Detail, again, the wheels, excellent detail, really, terrific. Nice tread detail, sharp hubs, it really does look nice. You get a couple of figures there, which I think there's a bit of a short shot on him, but I'm not going to worry about that. That's the underside of the underside of the hull there. Oops, Daisy. That's the one of the turrets, which again, the detail on this is actually really nice, really crisp. And okay, Pioneer's tools molded in place, but well, we can get around that with painting and whatnot. And again, you can see how crisp that detail is. There are your 3 complete upper hulls. So whatever you're not using, you're going to end up with quite a number of unused upper hulls, which your spares box is going to love. And there are bits and pieces there for the headlights. You've also got the sand shields there. The sand entrenching things. I know what I'm talking about. And that gives you an idea of the variants you can build: the 231, the 232, the 263, or the 233. I do like the 233.
So let me get this right. In the box, you've got that sprue there that you've shown. How many of those are in the box?
6 sprues in 9 sprues in total, 3 of each.
And how much is this one?
20 quid.
20 quid for all of those parts.
Right, hang about.
That's just madness.
Well, have a look at that's your construction sequence. So, and again, there is. To be honest with you, you could say, well, the undersides, and with the CMP, the undersides are, a bit simplified, and the leaf springs are a bit simplified. To be honest with you, those are usually the areas and I'm building this in 35th scale. Those are the areas on the kit where usually when I'm painting them, I don't bother. I paint them, but I don't bother putting any kind of massive effort into them. Here we go. Here's the box. Let me just pingo. There we go. That's the box for the 331 rather. Open it up. There's a big big box. And this is fantastic because they stack together beautifully. So there, oops, Daisy, we have 3 sprues for the upper hulls.
Yep.
So like I say, you do end up with quite a few unused upper hulls, and then 3 sprues for the lower hulls, the mud guards, and the radio aerials, and the wheels, and everything. Again, I don't mean to. Again, no decals with this as well. Although Plastic Soldier Company do sell decals as a separate thing. Without lapsing into cliches again, what deficiencies there are in terms of detail on that running gear, on the undersides and everything, we can just use textures and muds and things to. This is the whole point of why I wanted to have a go, have a tackle some of these kits. Is just to kind of go. Let's see what we can do with them. Although they're simple and they're simplified, let's build them and weather them and treat them as if they're the most detailed Tamiya kit you can imagine.
The other thing about that as well is my mind often wanders when we're talking about things like this. That's a £20 box of Greeblies.
It is a £20 box of Greeblies.
A £20. There are more Greeblies than you can shake a Greebly stick at in that box. But if you were a science fiction modeler, you would also. There's also an astonishing number of parts in there that you could use for other things. You could, and the other thing as well is, you could also, for that money, you could convert them and do all sorts of additional things with those. I'm genuinely flabbergasted that all of that was £20.
Well,
that is really impressive.
What I'm tempted to do at some stage is I'm actually going to take a pair of one of these sprues, stick them in a jiffy bag, and send them to you.
Okay.
For a bit of fun, just to see what you can do with them. What they also do, they do another set. I've actually, on a memento, per favore. I just need to go and grab this. Hop. This is a brilliant set that I bought a couple of years ago. It is German stowage and tank commanders. But essentially, what you get in there is you get oil drums, jerry cans, bed rolls, spare wheels, wooden crates, figures. It is, as you can see, you get multiple sprues of that. That is brilliant because you can effectively upgrade and populate the German. Well, you actually use a lot of these bits on the British vehicles as well.
I'm going, when we come off this, although it is the line of duty, so everything in the world stops for that at 9 o'clock. I'm going to see, do they do like trucks, like Opel Blitz trucks and all of that kind of stuff? Because if
they do trucks, the only well, tell you what, because we can do this now because of the technology. A bit like $6 Million Man here. We have the technology. Let me just go to their website. They were very generous with. They were actually going to send me more stuff, but I said, well, I just want to kind of like keep it, try and build a couple of things at the moment rather than suddenly having like a great big pile of things turn up.
I'm thinking, if you, for instance, if you had like a box that had like 3 Opel Blitzes in it, for instance, then you could do one stowed up with, and you had one of those boxes of accessories. You could do one with like jerry cans in or oil drums in or something. You could do a little conversion and have a flat gun on the back, or you could do a radio truck and build that. I mean, those are simple little conversions that you could make with very little additional expense. That would be
Here we go. Cool. So they do 15 mil, 28 mil, and 72nd scale.
Remind me, which is 15 mil.
I don't know what
scales are those.
I think 28 mil is 156th.
See, I like the idea of the 56th scale. That's kind of cool.
But as we can see here, they do. Okay. They've got a supposed kit listed there. Whoops, Daisy. But they do, half tracks, Panzer IIIs, Panzer IVs. Now they do actually do some rather nice. I'm just scrolling down here rather quickly. Here we go. They do a Steyr. That's nice. The multi-pack. No, that's the multi-pack. Don't worry about that.
What does that include? Does that include like 1 million kits for 50 quid?
Infinity kits. They do a Steyr heavy car, which fantastic. I was like, yeah, right, okay, yes, please, because as it says there, you can build the early or late ones, open variants, canvas roof. Brilliant. Yes. Unfortunately, out of stock. Which was, hey ho. And also, they do some. Here we go. German medium trucks. So they do.
Yeah, there you go. That's cool.
Oh, now they're in stock. Oh, that's. They weren't in stock the other day. They are in. One in stock. But yeah, they do these as well. The only thing is with some of the the cabs for these do have open windows, which is good. Because on some of the trucks that they do, because they're wargaming models, they do mold them as just solid cabs, which they did on the little Steyr RSO. Bear with me, people. I'm just scanning down here. There we go. They do a lovely little Steyr RSO. Which is great for war gamers. For us modelers, the cabs are molded solid, so it's a kind of like but they do the pack version there, which is a nice little touch.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But
I mean, they are perfect for war gamers, though, and I guess the pricing reflects the fact that war gamers want a number of models. They don't want to be spending out 20 quid on a single kit that's going to take a week to build.
Exactly.
That's the reason for the simplification. But they do very much remind me as well of the style of production of Warhammer, the Games Workshop vehicle kits and that kind of thing. The quality of the molding seems to be along those lines. So where you can see the runners are square and they're flat edged and all of that kind of stuff. But they would be lovely little weekend projects to sort of sit and tinker with and just paint and get them out there, because those kits that you showed, they're only going to take. Well, they're not going to take an hour to put together, are they? If that, I would imagine. I mean, I can't tell what sort of cleanup they need, but they don't look like they need a lot of cleaning up. They look like they would go together really quickly. So,
and like I say, and the other thing you got to bear in mind is, unlike your standard armor kits, your proper mainstream. Let's say proper. I don't mean it like that, but your mainstream armor kits. These are designed to be handled frequently.
Yeah.
So they do have to be a little bit more robust. So that is reflected in some of the design, but that doesn't mean that modelers aren't going to be able to look at that and go, do you know what? I can amend this. I can do this. I can do that. And that's the fun. That's the fun. That's the thing I'm really looking forward to. Is, as I say, is taking these, treating them like they are a Tamiya kit, and seeing what we can do with them.
The other thing as well is that we talk about mainstream kits and that kind of thing. These might be mainstream to the wargaming community.
These are mainstream. So. This is it. It's like this is a mainstream British plastic kit model manufacturer.
Yeah.
But how many modelers out there? How many people who go out and buy 72nd scale armor are even aware of what they're doing? And that's why I want to do these things, just bring them to people's attention, so that even if people just buy them and use them as paint mules or use them as test beds for finishes and weathering and whatnot, they are of tremendous tremendous value to us as modelers.
Yeah, I follow a couple of people on Twitter who are wargame modelers and paint these vehicles, and they'll post photographs up of them once they're painted, and you think, yeah, they look great. They can capture your imagination in the same way. I do like the idea of that, and they're fascinating. I'm gonna sort of take a look, but I think I might take a trip out to. I won't be doing it in the next few days, but I might take a trip out to Questing Night and just sort of see what they've got in the shop, and maybe report back on that on Wednesday. If I can get out there on Wednesday, I might take a trip out and sort of see what they have in there in terms of these wargaming models, because there are a number of manufacturers that produce these things. So it'd be interesting to see what they're.
I would like to say thank you to Plastic Soldier Company, who
brilliant
sent us that. It's very they were going to be very generous, and I'm like, no, just 2 kits will be fine. So and then let's see what we can do with them. Then kind of like perhaps come back again in the future and do some more. But thank you to them. It was very kind offer from them. So very, very grateful to them. Let us then. We've gone from something which is kits that are simple. Let's go on to something now that just looks absolutely mad,
absolutely bonkers. John, you're going to have to walk me into this, because the problems I had trying to download this file earlier on. But let me just have a quick.
Well, I know nothing about it.
So yes, so making it sound like we're completely rank amateurs. We've mentioned this company before. We mentioned them a couple of weeks ago, Dream Model. We might have mentioned them last week, actually, Dream Model. And the first kit that we're going to look at from them, we've got two products that we're going to take a look at from Dream Model, is the Chengdu J20, which is more pithily known as the Mighty Dragon. This is a fifth generation single seat twin engined stealth fighter that has been produced by the Chengdu Aerospace Corporation for the Chinese National Air Force. And you can see it here. This is the beast mode version of this, so called because it's got all of its stores hanging off the wings rather than in its own internal weapons base. Much like an F-35, this thing has got internal missile bays, but it's also got external pylons. And so what's happened with Dream Model is they've produced this kit. This is 72nd scale kit of this airplane, but they've done it in beast mode with all of the pylons underneath the wings loaded up with indigenous Chinese missiles. I have to say, 5th generation aircraft tend to leave me a bit cold. but I think this thing is absolutely astonishing looking.
It is straight out of Captain Scarlet or Joe 90, isn't it?
It is just the most extraordinary looking airplane. I really, really like the T50, the PAC-FAR, or whatever it's called now, the Su-57. I really like that. I think that's a beautiful aircraft, and is by far and away the prettiest of the fifth generation aircraft that are flying out there. But this thing is by far the most aggressive looking of all of the fifth generation aircraft, and in many ways it looks like a stretched out F-22. It has that kind of look, but the canards that it's got there give it a more purposeful look. The jet pipes give it a more purposeful look, and then you hang off 8 missiles off the lower wings. I think the F-15 EX Eagle 2 and the J-20 are having their own private competition to see which aircraft can carry the most air-to-air missiles underneath the wings. So this is just a really extraordinary looking airplane. I love the way this thing looks. But apart from its sort of shape, it's also more interesting because it's camouflaged. It's not just another sort of grey, drab aeroplane. This thing's got a bit more character about it, and I like the camouflage on it. I mean, look at it. I mean, that's the drop ship from Aliens with everything hanging out. It's just, the only way this thing could be any more exciting is if it was vertical takeoff and landing and had other vents that go with it. I would certainly like to have a crack at building one of these because it just looks mad. It's just mad.
I having over the last few days kind of pored over that F5E again. All I can say is, now that I know that Froome are stocking them, I think there's going to be quite a few dream model kits now featuring in my kind of in my schedule, because I was really impressed with the with the value for money for that for that F5, and that was, like I said, I paid it's about £25 for that, which is given the decal sheet and the photo etch sheet and everything with it, I thought that was fabulous value. This though, I mean, let's put it this way, I have absolutely no interest in modern day stealth fighters, really. I certainly have very little interest in modern Chinese fighter aircraft. I want to build this model. It just looks absolutely, and it also has that kind of look of the kind of things that Toho would dream up for their science fiction films. It looks fabulously futuristic. That's the thing about it.
Yeah, it does. It really does look futuristic, and I can't sort of get past the idea that it's it's almost like a young child has designed one of these aircraft and gone, we'll go with that, or like the sort of the Jerry Anderson team, when they used to take B-58 Hustlers and put all the engines up on the fins. It's like somebody's just taken one of those F-22 models and said, right, make something cool out of this thing, and they've gone, oh well, I tell you what we'll do, we'll stretch it and we'll just put some canards and we'll make it look like Firefox.
Do you know what I like about it is it's like it's almost like it's always like it's a Delta, but it's not a Delta because it's got canards and it's got twin fins and it's got 2 little fins on the underside as well.
I mean, could they? The only way that it could have had any more fins is if they'd put little winglets on it,
or had one fin right in the middle of the fuselage, make it look like a shark.
Absolutely, it's great, isn't it?
I just think that is terrific.
And there are, if you go online, I had a look online. If you go online, there's lots of photographs of these things, prototypes, and the sort of the later developmental aircraft of this. It's a great looking machine in reality as well, and I think it's sort of pushed, Chinese aerospace sort of steps further on.
Yeah.
Looking at the kit, looking at the parts, certainly looking at the images of these are the models. The detail on this looks really nice as well, and it's the surface detail looks to be kind of nice and smooth and everything. So I think there'll be a degree of finesse with this model too. So yeah, it's really nice. We will definitely, John will no doubt pick one of these up from Frome.
Oh, I tell you what, my next trip to, as and when my next trip to Frome, I'm actually going to be picking up a couple more of what they've got in stock. I might get myself the 2-seater F5E, F5F rather. But they've also do some of the helicopters and they might even have actually had the Cobras in. I didn't see because I was in a bit of a hurry. But no, they are a company worth keeping an eye on, and we will be reporting back on them more because I think that's fabulous.
Yeah,
splendid.
Yes,
absolutely right. Well. I can't wait to drag this line out because this is awesome. We go from Spencer Pollard to Traffic Bollard. Yeah, was it worth it? Was it really worth me doing that joke? Oh, clearly not. Here we go. Surprise! Look, it's Mini Art. I've already upset it tonight with the drummer joke, so it's Mini Art. Our resident model company on the Interesting Modeling Company, and they're doing a plastic barrier set.
And I have to say, of all the ones that we've sort of seen recently, this is the one I like the most. And the reason for that is because for a long time now, at least 5 years, I've been planning doing a Roadworks diorama. We're using one of the Hasegawa loaders. They do the kind of backhoes, and I like the idea of doing a motorway diorama of sort of roadworks, dump trucks, that kind of thing. And these provide the perfect plastic barriers for those scenes. When I saw these, I didn't see these in a military setting at all. It didn't cross my mind, but I did see these with a lot of potential for civilian scenes and especially roadworks, and using some of the things that are available now to create some really nice dioramas or nice vignettes. You can use them for military. They will appear in military scenes, I'm sure. I didn't see them like that. I very much saw them as an accessory for civilian scenes rather than military ones. But with the traffic cones and the plastic barriers, yeah, superb. Loving it all.
Well, you know what? This isn't the first time that something like this has actually been modelled, because
it's not.
I'm just bear with me whilst I just go and grab the other screen thing. I've actually got this set because Meng did a set of concrete barrier set, almost identical. But also they included molds in it for you to actually make your own out of plaster.
Yes, that's true. And in fact, a diorama that I built 2 or 3 years ago featured some of these Jersey barriers, the concrete ones, which I've got in a box underneath the desk somewhere. And yeah, so it's not the first time. Also, they've been available in resin too. The plastic versions were made. Excuse me. Somebody's burning something outside. It's coming in through the window.
You suddenly suddenly turned into that character for the Far Show, Bob Fleming.
I don't quite know what that is. I think it was MIG Productions produced resin versions of these plastic barriers as well, which you could get, and also Mach 1 produced resin versions of the concrete barriers. But this is the first time we've seen like a set that includes as much as this one does, because whereas those included a couple of each one, this one includes seemingly lots, if the pictures are anything to go by. Quite a large run. You can see there, I'm assuming that everything in that picture is in the box.
Oh yeah, everything in that picture is in the box. Be interesting to see how or if they supply anything for the for the tape and everything.
Yes, that's interesting because the fact that it is included, I wonder if that's on the. I wonder if there's like a little, like an instruction sheet that's got some of those. It's in a similar way to the printed
Maps,
the maps that were on the instructions in yours. I wonder if that's in the box. That would be cool. But also, I'm assuming as well they give you the traffic cones, the Jersey barriers, plus those little stanchions as well.
Everything you see in here, you get in the kit. So
yeah, that's great. That is a very useful modern set. And also, I suppose, could be used alongside for military purposes. Could be used alongside that road sign set that they released recently for Desert Storm or Desert Shield.
Yeah, there you go. There's the stanchions there in the middle.
Yeah, there you can see them.
So I get the feeling. Yeah, you get this sprue.
Six of them. Yeah,
6 multiples. Yeah. So again, this is just one of those things that if you build stuff in 35th scale, you can just. Doesn't count as a model. It's something you just buy and you go and you dip into it and you use it as and when.
Yes.
Yeah, fabulous.
Indeed. Brilliant.
Absolutely fabulous.
We are loving those.
Yep. Moving on then.
Finally, we come to a set from another of our recent favourites, ICM, who've done a set of World War I Belgian infantry figures. These are. You're going to put the photo?
Yeah, I'm working on it. We're working on it.
There we go. Which I do like these figures because they're in action poses as well, and I'm hoping that what's in the pictures, the door and the lower section of what looks like a street lamp, are included. But this is a very specific set, this being Belgian figures, and I can't remember the last time I saw a set of Belgian soldiers in a plastic kit, if ever. I'm really struggling to sort of recollect whether or not that's been done. But I'm really pleased to see we're getting more plastic figures from World War One as well. There are plenty of figures out there that for World War the World War One conflict and the various battles, but to Tommy's War in particular, who've produced beautiful resin figures, but in 32nd scale, 54mm, whereas these ones are 35th scale. But they look really nice, don't they? And the poses are nice. There's an urgency about these figures that I do like, and I also think as well that the poses are sufficiently interesting within this set that you could use those figures either as separate standalone pieces. Certainly the guys with the rifles, but also you could have a couple of the figures together. That would be nice as well, or have the whole literally the whole shooting match in one vignette. So this is a really original set from ICM, and I think one that we can only hope is going to develop further, and we're going to start to see other World War One figure sets coming from there, because I think that would be a real step in the right direction. We see so much from World War Two, but World War One is still not a conflict that's overwhelmed with plastic figures.
Yeah. So, shall I tell you the one thing looking at these, scrolling through the photographs here, and it's just it's actually a kind of like a feature of that kind of change in warfare tactics that the First World War brought about, is that those infantrymen could almost be British infantrymen from the American War of Independence.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just that they actually look like, because Airfix did a figure of a British indeed. It looks just like that. It's just you were sending men in kind of like in cloth hats and bayonets up against tanks. Yeah, it's just it's actually quite. I'd almost say it's quite shocking when you realise that that's how prepared some people were for conflicts, and how technology. They were fighting. They were fighting against mechanized armor with 18th century, 19th century cavalry tactics. It's
absolutely.
They're fabulous figures. I mean, they, one would like to think that if these prove to be popular for ICM, that they'll perhaps do some more Belgian soldiers, perhaps in not in action poses. But I like these. I just think the like I say, the animation and the poses just look fabulous. And
the officer figure with his sword he's really lovely, isn't he? And it's the intensity of the defense. You can see they're being overwhelmed. But and this figure set is intriguing because it's as much about what's off camera as what's visible to you. And your imagination sort of fills in the blanks of what's in front of them. This is a really nice set. Really, I'm hoping that they would assemble well. It's difficult to see from these photographs what the heads are like or the details like. It's almost impossible. But I'm hoping that they assemble nicely, and I'm sure in the right hands. And a talented figure painter could make these look really superb. Yeah, really nice.
So I'm just calling up another image here at the moment. I tell you what, a shocking fact for you is up until probably just over 25 years ago. Do you know how many mainstream injection molded kits there were of World War I subjects?
Very, very few, unless they were aircraft.
Well, okay. Let me rephrase that. Do you know how many injection molded kits there were of World War I military subjects?
I'm going to say less than 20.
Let's just say, let's go back to around about 1990. So it's about 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. There were two. It was the Airfix World War I tank in WHO scale.
Yep.
And there was the Taurus model kit of the A7V German tank in 35th scale.
Yeah, you'd add into that the Old Bill bus as well.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll have that. Yeah, the Old Bill bus, so three.
But
right?
Not very. Obviously, pretty
that
much
all started changing when MHAR came on the scene and started doing A7Vs and male and female tanks and Mark IVs, Mark Vs. They started doing Whippet tanks. Then over time, that has started to really kind of expand now to the point that you had Roden came in and started doing things. Now we've come to the second decade of the 21st century. Everybody went absolutely crazy for British tanks. Meng were doing them.
Tamiya were doing them.
Everybody was doing them. Tamiya have done World War I infantry figures. Think about that. It's taken until the second decade of the 21st century for Tamiya to even look at World War I.
And yet it's still a hugely untapped resource, isn't it, for subjects in terms of guns. I mean, you can get plastic guns now, all of those kind of things, but even so, it's still untapped. There's still a huge market out there for because once people started to see those kits, people started to build them, didn't they? It wasn't like they were sold and people were going, oh, well, I'm not really interested in those. You saw them everywhere. People were buying them. You'd see them on. People going, yeah, I'm building this. It's really cool and all of that sort of stuff. I know guys who specialised in only building Second World War German vehicles who turned wholesale to World War One. They never touched anything else. They now only build World War I subjects, which is really cool, I think.
Here we go. There we go. To prove a point.
Yes, they do.
Could easily be a World War I Belgian, 100 years later.
Yeah.
It's
very
always
similar uniforms, aren't they?
Yeah, it's terrifying, isn't it, really? They were fighting a war using literally those same tactics. Anyway.
Yeah, no helmets or anything. Scary.
Right. Any other business?
I don't think so. I think we've covered pretty much everything this evening.
I do. I haven't any other business tonight.
Ooh,
And it's
hello.
just, serious face, any other business. For those of you living in the United Kingdom, you can now apply online on the YouGov website, and you can get a free NHS COVID testing kit. You get 7 tests in there, which enables you to do a twice weekly test. Mine's just turned up, so I should do my first test tomorrow. They're self-administered. Everything's done at home, and you get a response back within about 30 minutes, from the testing kit. Suffice to say, I think it's just worth everybody getting one in the UK. Get one, order one, self-test. So how we're going to get out of this, it's going to be a combination of vaccination and self-testing so that we know where we are with it. So
Elizabeth, my wife has been using those lateral flow tests, which
lateral flow tests,
she's been using those for the last all year, because she's a teacher, and she has to test herself in fact, she did one tonight. Teacher
Spencer, she's a goddamn hero.
Goddamn it! So she's back because she's back in the classroom tomorrow, and so she's done one of those tests and logged it tonight. So,
so like I say, you can, as members of the public now within the United Kingdom, you can order them from the YouGov website. They're free, and I think everybody should take them up on the offer. Quite frankly. I know. There we go. It's a serious public service announcement there, but this is how we're going to get back to model shows, people. So,
do we have to?
And also, this is also how Spencer and I are going to go on our model shop tour of Ireland. So,
I'm thinking more along the lines of this is how I'm going to get back to the football, and how I'm going to get back to watching music and just life. Honestly, we're all bored of it now, aren't we? We are. It's that, isn't it? We're craving some sort of normality. So anything that we can do to solve that, we should do. Yeah,
we're always keen to kind of like to especially in this country, we are sometimes overly keen to kind of be reverential towards the towards what previous generations did for us as a nation. This is the chance for us to actually do something. So. Get to it. On that note,
I'm just thinking, when have I ever been reverential to previous generations?
So, we're always we're in this country, we're always invoking the spirit of the Blitz and everything. It's the sacrifices that previous generations have made for us. It's like, now that we're in a similar situation where we are having to make sacrifices, at least we haven't got bombs falling on us. That's the main thing.
The other thing is that usually the people who invoke the spirit of the Blitz weren't there. And the people who were there hated every single second of it. And there was no Blitz spirit. So, yeah, I do see what you mean, yes.
There was a famous quote when asked what got them down most about the Blitz. One Londoner replied, "The weather."
Yes, indeed.
So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, as always, just remains for us to say, stay safe, stay out of trouble. We'll be back on Wednesday with our midweek show. So from myself and Mr. Pollard, as always, we'll look forward to seeing you. It's good night from me.
It's good night from him.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.